Hey everyone, alright, I've been asked about this a lot over the past year and a half or so, so I figured it's high time to finally get it done and to make a video to explain some of this stuff to you guys, should you want to make your own guitar recordings and or videos. I'm going to try to burn through this pretty quickly as to not make this video 2 hours long. That said, I'm going to be glossing over a lot of stuff, just basically providing the absolute basics to get you up and recording your guitar and making videos. Should you want to dig a little bit deeper into the inner workings of digital audio workstations and video editing and whatnot, there's tons of in-depth tutorials out there on YouTube for you to look into. I'll be pretty much providing you with just the basics because that's all I really know, but it's enough to get you started. I'm certainly no expert on any of the things I'm going to be showing you, so know that going forward. I've pretty much just been expanding my knowledge of this stuff as I've gone along. Up until 2 years ago, I didn't know anything about any of this stuff, guitar software and digital audio workstations and audio interfaces and video editing. None of it. But I've gone from producing videos that were barely listenable 2 years ago to constantly being complimented on the quality of my recordings within the past year or so. So I must be doing something right. The setup that I have works, and that's good enough for me, and apparently for a lot of you guys as well, because like I said, this is a video I've been asked to make by quite a few of you. Hopefully it'll help you get started. Now, there are a number of ways to make a guitar recording and or video. The simplest, of course, is to plug in your amp, set up your phone or your camera, and record. Simple, but really not very versatile, and the sound quality will generally be quite poor. Plus, if you want to play and record over backing tracks like I do a lot, it's nearly impossible. So if you want very good to excellent sound quality with your recordings, coupled with the ability to edit, change tone, mix, multi-track, etc., you're going to need some equipment and some software. You'll basically need a small home studio. Now, don't let that scare you, okay? Some of the things you'll need can be gotten either free or reasonably cheap. My whole home studio was less than $800, and that includes my laptop. So let's just assume you already have a computer or a laptop. That'll cut your costs down a lot right there. Now we're into the $300–400 range to set up your little home studio, and that's not too bad. Now, before we dig into the nuts and bolts of everything in your home studio setup, let's just quickly run through what you'll need. First, the hardware. One doesn't actually need a whole lot of hardware to get started. The guitar, of course, that's a given, a computer or a laptop, and we'll just assume they're both a given. What you will need is an audio interface, one of these guys, or an amplifier with a built-in audio interface, some studio monitor headphones, or studio monitor speakers if you wish to be amplified, a camera for the video side of things, and that'll do it for you to get started. As far as software goes, you'll need the drivers for your audio interface, you'll need a DAW, a digital audio workstation, and a guitar software suite if you wish to be software driven like I am, and some video editing software to put the video together. So let's just dig a little bit deeper into what we're going to need and the cost of some of these things. Obviously, like I already said, you'll need a guitar and a cable. Talent is optional at this point. Now, first and foremost, what we need to do is get the signal from our guitar into our computer. And you're not going to find a guitar jack input anywhere on your computer. We're going to need a way to do that. For that, we're going to need what's known as an audio interface. Lots of small amplifiers being made these days have built-in audio interfaces, like my little Blackstar ID Core that I use, a little practice amp. So if you wish, you can install the software for your amp onto your computer, connect your amp to your laptop with a USB, and you're ready to go. You're connected. That's one way, but it's not how most of us do it, including myself. Most of us use a separate audio interface to get our guitar signal into our computer. I personally use this one. This is a Behringer U-Phoria UM2, a cheap budget interface that works like a charm. Behringer is a German company that make really decent budget musical hardware. This one cost about 50 bucks on Amazon and works great. This one only has 2 channels, one for a mic and one for an instrument. I only use the instrument channel as that's all I need personally. If you so wish, you could always record with your amp and a microphone, run the mic into the audio interface, but that's not the way that I go about it. I'm pretty much software driven as far as tone goes. Now, there are more expensive audio interfaces out there, some with more channels and a more sturdy build. This one's plastic. The Focusrite Scarlett being one that's probably the most popular on the market at about 3 times the price of this one. But I've tried both and I can hear no difference between the two whatsoever. So as far as keeping the budget to a minimum, I highly recommend the Behringer. It does the job very well. Just don't abuse it because, like I said, it's made of plastic. Whoa. The only other hardware you'll need is some studio monitor headphones if you wish to play in silence, or studio monitor speakers if noise isn't a problem and you wish to be amplified if you don't have an amp. I pretty much always use headphones. These are excellent lower end Audio Technica M20Xs and they're about 60 bucks on Amazon. Now be sure to use studio monitor headphones and not just any normal headphones. Normal headphones are internally EQ'd for whatever music they're designed for and you do not want that. You want the pure guitar signal going to your ears. Studio monitor speakers are optional, but good for mixing your final recording. You can always mix with headphones. Some prefer it actually. I do it sometimes myself. And the studio monitors are good for amplifying yourself, like I said, if you don't have an amplifier. So you can use studio monitors as an amplifier when you're software driven. So anyway, now you've got your guitar connected to your laptop or computer. Now you need something to record what you're playing into it. What you need is a DAW, a digital audio workstation, DAW. You know those big studio mixing boards that you see sound engineers using in the studio with all the dials and levers and meters? Well, it's basically that, but on your laptop. And herein lies probably the steepest learning curve of everything involved, but I'll try to give you the basics at least to get you started. There are a ton of DAWs out there on the market. Some are pretty cheap. Some of them can be fairly expensive, while others are free, actually. I'm not a Mac user. For you Mac users out there, GarageBand, I guess, is quite a popular DAW and free to use as well, while Logic Pro X is a big step up from that, which will set you back a couple of $100, I understand. A few of the big name DAWs for the Window marketplace are Cubase, Ableton Live, Pro Tools, FL Studio 20, amongst many others, and again, all at various price points. If what I use doesn't suit you, you can always check out one of those. Now, the one that I use is called Reaper. It's $60 and it's actually one of the better, easiest, and more intuitive DAWs on the market. And Reaper has a 60-day free trial for you to try it out, which actually never expires if you so choose. So you can keep on using it forever and put up with the nag screens if you like. But 60 bucks is on the cheaper side of things when it comes to DAWs, and so I would suggest paying for it. Now, before we dig into a little bit about Reaper and how to record through Reaper, we need some tone. And like I said previously, if you're using an amp with a built-in audio interface, you've already got that, and you're pretty well ready to record. For those of you who wish to be software driven, like myself, then we're going to have to get some guitar software onto our computer or laptop. I personally use Bias FX2 Professional by a company called Positive Grid, and I'm extremely satisfied with it. It's got about 60 different amps, 100 different pedals and effects, tons of presets. It's really a fantastic guitar suite, and it's about $150, I think, for the professional version. It's constantly on sale. You can usually get it for much less. Or you could always opt for the standard version of Bias FX with about a third of the options, but it's still a really good suite to get you started. And that's what I used for about the first year before I upgraded to the professional version because I found it on sale one day. And just like the digital audio workstations, there's numerous guitar software suites out there on the market for you to choose from. And again, some are expensive, some are cheap, and some are free. I think there's one called Cakewalk, which is completely free. I'll be guiding you through Bias FX 2 Pro, but they all have a very similar kind of interface should you decide to go with something else for your guitar software needs. So at this point, we've got our guitar connected to our laptop through our audio interface. Our guitar software suite and our DAW is installed on the laptop, and we're pretty much ready to record. I'm going to show you how to set up everything, get some sound pumping through everything, a basic run through of how to use the DAW, how to load the guitar software into the DAW, how to download a backing track, how to load your guitar suite, how to record, how to get everything working together basically towards a finished product, how to make a video, sync the video with the audio. So anyway, I'm going to pop myself down into the corner here, and then I'm going to bring up the digital audio workstation Reaper, and we'll have a look at that, and we'll load up the guitar software suite. First, we got to download some drivers for our audio interface, and then we'll get into it. So I'm going to pop myself down in the corner and bring that up, and then we'll get started. All right, so I'm going to put links down below in the description for all of this software, should you want to use exactly what I'm using. But the first thing we need to get on our computer is the drivers for our audio interface. Each company that makes interfaces, ProSonic, Behringer, Focusrite Scarlett, they have their own software drivers for their audio interfaces. Now, there is a thing called latency. The time it takes from the signal to get from your guitar down the cable into your audio interface, into your computer, all through the software, back out through the cable, back through your audio interface, down through the cable of your headphones and into your ears. There can be delay, and it can be significant to the point where it's unusable. You need to get your latency down to nearly zero, and software sound drivers that are normal on Mac and on Windows PCs are not good enough. You need what's known as ASIO for all. ASIO for all is sound drivers that really kill latency and get it down. They're specifically made for audio interfaces, and they get your latency down close to zero. So what you're playing is what you're hearing at the exact same time. If you're using an amplifier with built-in audio interface, or you're using VST plugins without a guitar software suite, you may not have, you won't have software drivers that are included with your audio interface. So what you'll need is a driver called ASIO for all, ASIO for all. So you'll need that, and all of these companies, Behringer and ProSonic and Focusrite Scarlett, they use ASIO. They use their own proprietary version of ASIO. So you're going to want to go, whatever audio interface you have, you're going to want to go to their website, download the ASIO drivers from their website for your specific audio interface. So I'll link a couple of them down below for whatever interface you choose to use. Now, we're going to open up Reaper. So you're going to want to install Reaper on your computer. And this is what the Reaper interface looks like. Up here is kind of your timeline. And over here is where you add tracks. And down here is your tracks as well. So whatever you add up here is going to go down here. And this is where all the sliders come in, like you see on a studio mixing board, like you see this, right? So now you got all kinds of sliders, different tracks. And we're just going to delete these for now. Now you can go into options. First, we want to load our guitar suite. So you're going to want to go and install your guitar suite. If you use Bias FX, it'll be down below. I think there's a trial for that one as well. I think Amplitude has a simple a version of their software for free with just like 3 or 4 amps and a couple of pedals. And so you can always try that as well. That's supposed to be pretty decent, but I haven't used it. But so anyway, you go into options here, and you got all kinds of stuff here that I don't know what it means, like smooth seeking, seek at end of measure, and external timecode synchronization, and ripple edit pre-track, and show overlapping media items in lanes. I don't know what any of this stuff means. I usually work out of here. This up here in this top right corner is basically your preferences as well. So you're going to want to go in there. And when you install your drivers for your audio interface, this Reaper will look for them. And right up here, you're going to see your audio system, and you're going to have WDM, kernel streaming, Windows XP, direct sound, wave out. You don't want any of those. Those are the ones that are going to give you latency. What you want is ASIO. So you're going to click on ASIO, and then when you go into ASIO driver, in this panel here, you're going to hopefully find your audio interface. Mine shows up as Behringer USB audio, so I click on that. You're going to want to enable inputs. First is your first channel. On my audio interface, it's the microphone. My second channel is my instrument input. That's the guitar. So that's the one I'm going to want to use. We're going to just leave this the way it is for now. Output range, I only see one output on my interface, and that's for the headphones, though it has two. Maybe there's one in the back for something. But so anyway, we got 1, 2 here. Request sample rate, I do not have that checked. I have the sample rate at 44,100. Now, when you install the software, the guitar software suite, it will create a folder called VST plugins. And that's where it will put itself as a plugin, so you can plug it into your digital audio workstation. Now, over on the left-hand side here, plugins, you're going to go down to VST, and this is the path that when you open Reaper, it will search your computer for VST plugins, and it should find the folder that your guitar software created and load it into Reaper as Reaper loads upon startup. If it doesn't, you will find that folder and you will plug it in here. You will edit, you will copy the path, plug it in this spot here, auto detect, and it should find the path for your VST plugins if it doesn't do it automatically. So we're going to just close out of here. And so now we're going to load a track. So we've got our preferences all set here. And I think there's a lot of stuff over here, and I don't know much about any of it. And I don't touch most of that stuff. So over here, you're going to want to open a track. So we just opened a track. And when you open that track, you're going to want to arm that track, and that's right here. That's the arm button. And then this, that's the first thing you want to do. And then this little window here is going to be your input. And right now it's on input 1, which is the microphone. So we're going to want to switch that to input 2, which is the instrument input on our audio interface. There's a couple of buttons here, mute. If you have a bunch of tracks open, you want to mute one of them. This is solo, I think. This will just play that track and basically mute everything else. And you've got your meters here, so which you don't want to go like clipping and whatnot. And that's about it for loading a track. And now you just double click, you can load more tracks. So now if we wanted to load a backing track, well, let's get some sound going through this first. Let's just delete this. And I'm going to grab a guitar. And I've got my guitar into my interface. I've got this loaded. And now the tone that you're going to hear is going to be the tone coming from my microphone that I'm using to speak with my studio monitors in front of it. So this is not going to be the tone you're going to have. This is a microphone tone from my studio monitors. But so right now, we've got no effects. So you're going to want to go into this little button here, FX. Click on that. And then all of your plugins are going to be here. Reaper comes loaded with a ton of their own plugins, and a lot of them are really good. They have amplifier plugins, pedal plugins. You don't even need guitar software, but a lot of the plugins that they do have are they don't have much of an interface. They're all very much like this, with like sliders but you know, if you're on a budget, you could load up your guitar, you know, a guitar amplifier, a bunch of effects and whatnot right through Reaper without even having a guitar software suite. But in mind, I'm going to just delete that, remove effects, and hold on, let's get rid of that. So we're going to go into effects and bias FX 2. So I've got all my plugins here. These are all the ones that I used in the last 6 months or so. When you use something, it kind of goes into a window of recently used. Bias FX 2. If you're just loading all this for the first time, just search for it over here. You'll probably find it, and well, you will find it. And so I'm going to load Bias FX 2 right now. Now, when you load Bias Effects, it's going to load up with a default plugin, and I don't know what the default, it's called American Dream. And so this is the interface for Bias Effects 2, and you can't load a blank signal chain. It loads this one, and you can just you can go down through this, through up here, down into all the different pop presets, blues presets, rock presets, metal presets, insane presets, alternative. And then you got your banks here. If you want to download presets, you can go to the tone cloud up here, put a search in through the tone cloud, and download different presets like Hotel California Solo, Boston 1976. And then you download those and you put them in different banks or different presets that you create yourself. Like we're going to change this one and create our own. We're going to do Whipping Post by the Allman Brothers Band for our little demo here. And so we're going to want, maybe early 70s kind of Allman Brothers. So we're going to, these are your amps. This is a dual amp setup. I'm going to go back to single. We've got like a tube screamer here set up. We're going to keep that, but we're going to get a Marshall Plexi. And so anyway, you're going to go over here into your crunch amps. Got a Marshall Plexi right there. Replace that. Going to get some nice gain on that. Get that up to about maybe a 9. And take our volume. Get that up to maybe about a 9. A little treble, a little bass. And we're going to take our drive, and then you can adjust get those up here. Now I'm probably going to be too loud. Reverb, let's replace that with a stereo reverb. Whipping Post has a lot of reverb on it. So bring that down. This is plate reverb, which I like a lot. We'll bring that down to about 16. And I think that's got a little bit of chorus going there. Let's get rid of that chorus. So you got some noise gate. Let's turn on the noise gate. Now our noise is gone. Okay. So now we've got a tone that we can use for Whipping Post. And that's kind of how you do that. You can go into add here, and it'll give you all of the, your noise gates, 3 noise gates, compressor, a whole bunch of compressors, pitch modulation, a bunch of boost pedals, a bunch of different drive pedals, distortion pedals, EQs, modulation, your chorus, your flangers, your phasers, your tremolos, a whole bunch of different delays, 5 or 6 different reverbs. So anyway, I really like this software suite. You've got a tuner up here. You've got a looper if you like to do looping. I never use a looper. So anyway, we've got this. And then if we want to call this, save as new. We want to save it. So let's save that as Whipping Post 1. And then you select a bank, down into bank 1. Okay. So if we ever want to use that again, we can go down into bank 1. These are all of my presets. There's Whipping Post 1. So let's go back to that. Let's close this. So now we have our track open. We have some sound. now we're going to want a backing track. So here's what I usually do to get a backing track. I have a good backing track for whipping post that I actually paid for, but this is what I would normally do for almost all of my videos. We're going to open up YouTube. Now you can always go to guitarbackingtracks.com. That is an excellent site for backing tracks. Let's go to YouTube and put in a search for whipping post backing track. And it'll give you a bunch of backing tracks, and then you're going to want to maybe give it a listen. It sounds pretty good, so you're going to want to go up here, copy that address, go back to Google, go to YouTube to MP3, and this site here, ytmp3.cc, and then you're going to want to paste right in there, convert, and download. And it'll download. Make sure you know where it's downloading to. This downloads to my download folder, but make sure you know where it downloads to. And then we're going to close that. And then we're going to go up here in Reaper. We're going to open a new track. And then we're going to go up to Insert. You're going to want to insert a media file. Now, these are all my downloads, all my media files that I use for the top 100 guitar solos. So if I had have downloaded, well, I just did download that whipping post. It's in here, and I would go and I would find it and I would open it. But the one that I actually have that I paid for is on my desktop right there. So we're going to open that, and that'll go into your new track. We're going to layer this. We're going to multi-track this with 4 tracks. So I'm going to open up 4 more tracks, or 3 more tracks. So now I have, no, sorry, I have too many tracks open. Let's remove one of those. And let's take this down to the bottom. So now we've got three tracks, and we're going to want all the same, maybe you want the same effects. So we're just going to take the first one and drag it down to the second one. And then Bias Effects 2 will load into that one. And then we're going to do the same thing for track 3. Drag it down to the effects button, and it will load Bias Effects into that track. So now we have 3 tracks open. We're only using the first one first. You do not want to arm that one, or you'll be recording both tracks at the same time. So let's give a listen to, there's our, this is our timeline. There is our backing track. So let's give a listen to that. And there's all your, for mixing, all of your volume levels for each track. So let's take our little timeline finder here, put it at the beginning, and then press play. So we've got a pretty good mix there. And so that is our first track. So what we're going to want to do is, so our levels are pretty good. So we're going to want to hit the record button. So let's bring this over to the beginning. Give ourselves a little bit of time before it kicks in. So we're going to drag that over maybe, how many seconds? Maybe 3 seconds. And then put our start cursor at the beginning. And then we're going to hit record. Oh, sorry. Bass starts first on this one. You make a mistake, stop, delete, delete, yes. Let's do that again. save if you're happy with your take. Back that up. Now, while you're doing this, which I should have done myself, is record. So I'm going to pretend that I'm going to grab another camera, and I'm going to set this camera up, because I'm using my other camera right here, and I'm going to set this camera up to record myself doing the second track. Let's whip that around. Okay, now I've got myself, so I'm going to hit record on my camera, and I'm going to disarm that first track if I'm happy with it, and I was kind of happy with that, and then we're going to arm our second track, channel 2 in our audio interface, and then we're ready to go. So now we're recording in the second track, and I'm going to record myself this time with my camera. So a good thing to do when you back up with your video, when you move that forward, a good thing to do is to make a note. It's good for syncing. So when you back this up, before the music starts, hit a note, and it'll give you a spike in your timeline, and it's good for lining up when you're doing video editing. So now that we're in track 2, the second guitar part, I'm going to hit record. I'm going to make a little spike. All right, my video shut off, but we'll stop it before that. I don't know why my video shut off. Anyway, we got enough to use, I think. So, and now we're going to do track 3. So we're going to stop that one. Arm track 3, second input on our audio interface. We're going to back everything up to the beginning, and we're going to hit record again. And then we're going to save that. So we'll stop right there at that point, just for our demonstration purposes. So now we have 3 tracks of guitar and 1 of a backing track. And so now you can go back and listen to all of those together and mix them. What you can also do, if you make any kind of noises and whatnot, you'll be able to get rid of that in video editing, that little blip that you're using. So anywhere where you're not actually playing, if your guitar is on, it could be making noise, so you can get rid of it. So you can go to your timeline here, just before your guitar kicks in here. You can put your cursor, right click, go down to, hold on, my camera's in the way, I can't see what I'm doing here. Go down to split at playhead, split item at cursor. And then take that first part, left click on it, and remove item. I'm just going to move my camera into the middle. And then remove item. Same goes, don't remove the second one. Well, you can actually, you can. Okay, sorry about this. My camera is in the way. There we go. So split item at cursor. Where there's no guitar, you basically want to kill it. Split item at cursor, and then remove. And then the third track, there's no guitar until this point, up to your timeline, just before you start playing. Right click, split item at cursor, right click, and remove item. So if that's all we're going to record, you're going to want to go over here to where your backing track keeps on playing. Put your, go down to split item at cursor and remove item. And that'll make your rendering of this a little bit faster. So now we have a recording. And now we're going to go up here to File. So first, actually, we're going to go to our, we're going to mix this a little bit. Sorry, I'm at the end. I'll bring this to the beginning. So that's peaking a little bit, so let's bring that down. It's peaking it right there. Maybe that's a little loud, let's bring that down a bit. Sounds better. Good, so then you play with that, right? That sounds pretty good. And so we're gonna get our master up to about 0. And then we're gonna render this up to File, Render. And there's gonna be output formats here. You've got MP3 and FLAC. You want WAV, because that's the best of the bunch. File name. Whipping post, directory. Let's put this on my desktop, and then render. So you're going to want this peaking somewhere. You don't want to get into the red. That's a little bit too much, a little too close to the red. I'm actually in the red. So you're going to want to back your volume off just a touch, and then go back to render again. Overwrite what you already did. Let's see where this one is. -2, that's going to be well loud. It's still almost peaking. So let's cancel that. Go back, turn our volume down just a touch more, and go back to render. Overwrite what you previously did. And that's better. You want to be between -12 and like -3, somewhere in that ballpark. So this is now rendering. And that's done. So you know where that is. You put it in the right directory. And so now we have a WAV file. And we also have video. So what we need to do is sync our video and our WAV file. So let's close Reaper. Save, if you wish. We'll call that whipping post. Save. And that shuts down Reaper. I have to I'm going to move my camera back in here. I have to put the video on my computer. All right, so now we need to sync that video with the WAV file. So you're going to want to open up, I use Shotcut as a video editor. It's a free open source video editor, and I think it works very well, and I'm quite used to it. I'll put a link down below if you want to try out Shotcut, and I'll give you the basics of this as well. So we're going to load Shotcut, and this is the what the interface for Shotcut looks like. So down here is your timeline. So you're going to want to open a video file for your video. So go down here to the left, add video track. And now you also have an audio track. So you're going to go add an audio track. And this little guy, this is going to be your window right in here where your video will play. And this little guy here makes it bigger or smaller. So we're going to move that up. So you want to open file. So let's open our video file that we made, transferred from your camera to your computer. So let's open that. I put it on my desktop right there. And again, I'm behind my camera. So let's open my video file. And there it is. So we're going to drag that down to video. And now that. And this little slider here, this is, you know, expands. Basically, a magnifier. So there's our video. Now you're going to want to load your audio, the WAV file that you made in your DAW. So let's go up here, and it's right there. So let's load that. Open. And now you can hear that playing. So we'll move that down into our audio. A little bit of volume there. Pause. You can pause it right there. Pause, rewind, fast forward. So now we need to sync these two. So let's give ourselves a little more room to see. And the little spike that we made, you can go along the timeline here. You can pause, you can, mute the audio, and you can play along until you hear, there's our little spike, right? And now on the audio, it should be right there. There it is. So you wanna sync that little bump right there with this one right here. So let's move that over there and get those synced right together, and then you can kind of see everything starting to line up here, right? And so you can get that to the where your video is, so they're equal, your audio and your video, and then right click on your video, split at playhead, and then you want to highlight this part here and remove it. If you can do it this way, remove, right click remove, but it will cause your timeline to shift. This way, it'll remove it. This little guy here, lift, it's called, just removes it without moving this. Now you can move everything over, and you should be pretty close to synced. So go to the start of your timeline, and then go up to play. Remember, this video I was doing the second guitar part. And I look pretty synced there. All right, so we're going to stop there. And so we're pretty well synced, so you want to get rid of this little test bump that you used for your timing. So just go past it, right click on both of these, split at playhead, right click on your audio, split at playhead. Since these are both already synced together, you can remove both of those by right clicking, remove, right click, remove. They'll shift both left, but they'll both shift the same amount of distance. And if you want to do a little fade in, you go up to the top left-hand corner here, and you can pull that little circle over, 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. So let's go 2 second fade in. 2 second fade in on both. 2 second fade in. Go back to the beginning of your timeline, press play, see what it looks like. There we go. Now, I'm going to pause that there. If you often see sometimes you have picture-in-picture, so if I wanted to videotape myself doing the first guitar part, I could do that, and I could put it up here in the corner. I could add another video track. I could go over to the timeline, add video track. There I have a new video track. I would open it. It would come up in this window. I would drag it down into the video track. And once it's in there, then I could go into filters over here and I could add filters. I don't have anything there, but let's go down to this one, and I could go into filters, add a filter, and I could go into size and position, and then I could, I could do this basically, and then I could move it to a different area of the screen. See that? So I would have my original below, and then I would have this one above it, and then I could move it up into the corner. But we're going to get rid of that because we don't really want it. And so now you're going to want to render this video if you're happy with it. So let's get to where we are. And let's stop there. So scroll over to where we are, right click, split at playhead, remove this one on the right, do the same with the audio, split at playhead, remove, and then you might want to do a little bit of fade out. Let's fade that out 2 seconds, go to our video, fade that out 2 seconds, and then get rid of this track that we're not using, right click, remove track. And now our synced video is made. So you're going to want to go to export. You're going to want to export this video. You can also go in and do like lots of filters, right? So you got your window here. You can go up here, and there's all kinds of different filters that you can use. Fade in, fade out, gain. You can increase the gain if it's not loud enough. Rotate and scale, which I'm starting to learn about. You can add text. There's video filters, sepia and old film scratches, and lots of stuff to play with. And then there's audio filters as well, bass, treble, band pass, delay, things like that. I don't use those very much. And so like I said, now you want to go to export. And you're going to want to go to advanced, and you're going to want to know what the frames per second you used when you first recorded your video. Usually I'm at 24 frames per second. You do not want to export and render your video to a higher frame rate than you made the video, or you're going to get choppiness because it's going to start filling in the gaps of the frames. It's going to start filling in frames with nothing to get to your higher frame rate. So I learned that the hard way. So you're going to want to go frames per second right in here. Go to 2397 because that's usually what I record with on my camera. Leave this resolution is fine, aspect ratio 6 and 9. But whatever you record, if you record in 60 frames per second, you want to go into advanced right here in this export window and change that to, if you record in 60 frames per second, render it in 60. If you record in 2397, render it in 2397. So we're going to export this file. Export. We'll call it whipping post. And got to move my camera again. Sorry about this. And we're going to save it to our desktop. Save. And now it's rendering up in the top right-hand corner up here. This is a very short. It's only 20, 25, 30 seconds. This will take about 30 seconds to render. If you've got a 5 or 6 minute video, that'll take, maybe 15, 20 minutes, depending on the speed of your computer. So this is nearly rendered. 24 more seconds. And we wait. For video editing, you want a fairly fast computer. This is a high-end laptop that I use. It's older. It's like 6-7 years old, but it was a very expensive laptop when it was new, and it's quite fast, and not as fast as the newer laptops out today. But so that's done. A little check mark. Video editing is very CPU intensive. So let's get rid of that. Minimize, and there's our video right there. So we'll open VLC, and then we'll go have a look at it. Open file. Go to our desktop, whipping post right there, open. And it looks good, and then we're done. So anyway, that's it. That's start to finish. Well, this video is probably about an hour long, but a lot to cover. And like I said, the sound that you're hearing right now is the sound coming out of my studio monitors into a microphone. So it's not the true sound of this video. I didn't spend a whole lot of time mixing and whatnot, but you get the idea. And I will amend this little 30-second video with the proper sound to the end of this video, and you can hear actually how it does sound, not through a microphone and a speaker in front of it. So that's it, and I certainly hope I helped you out with that. And it was comprehensive, how to make a video from start to finish, but I didn't get into a whole lot of details about everything. You can learn that on your own, but this is a good start, and that's how it's done. So you guys take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time.